Insurgents. Creative Insurgents.
Hey everybody, I'm Corey Huff with theabundantartist.com.
And I'm Melissa Dinwiddie from Living a Creative Life.
And hi, I'm Minnie.
And this is the Creative Insurgents podcast.
We here are all about living a creative life according to your own rules by your own terms.
Hey there, Melissa. Hi, Minnie. How y'all doing today?
Good. Just getting my my stool adjusted here.
Awesome, on your awesome treadmill desk.
Yes.
So Melissa, cool stuff for you this week. You did something big and scary.
I did. I took a big leap. I have been planning for months to post some of my art on my Facebook page and auction it off, or try auctioning it off. And I've been too scared to do it until this week. I made a commitment to the members of my Academy program, said I was going to do it, and I did it, and it was great. I got so much great feedback, and I sold the piece. So,
excellent.
Big win.
We're going to talk more about that in the quick tip at the end of today's show. Today, Melissa, do you want to talk a little bit about today's guest? You know her much better than I do.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm so excited about today's guest, Ren Allen. You out there listening or watching, you've probably heard the term makeup artist, and maybe you imagined the people who make up models for photo shoots and brides for weddings to make them look all gorgeous. And Ren does that. She does that brilliantly, but she also uses makeup as a way more interesting kind of art, as far as I'm concerned. Ren turns people's bodies into art. She paints on their bodies, using their bodies as canvases for all kinds of colorful designs, vines and landscapes and lettering, which, as a calligrapher, of course, I especially love. And we met just a few weekends ago in Georgia at Design Your Life Camp, and I got to see some of Ren's work up close because she painted on some people who were lucky enough to be canvases for her work. And I was so envious, I wanted to be painted myself. So, and I got a chance to talk to Ren, and I was so inspired by your story, Ren, and I just knew I wanted to invite you on to join us on the Creative Insurgents podcast. So welcome, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Welcome, Ren. It's so nice to meet you.
It's really awesome to meet you, Minnie.
So Ren, first, I would love it if you could tell us a little bit about how you got into makeup in general, and then especially how you got into body painting.
That was an interesting journey because if you go back far enough, I started out in a family that really didn't get my fascination with makeup and beauty and fashion and all things worldly. I was raised in a very strict church, and you weren't allowed to wear makeup. So I find that I got a little bit delayed, but I got back on track in my 30s and started a career in the cosmetic industry. And from there, one thing kind of led to another. I was kind of self-educating for many of those years because I found that, like, you know, when you work for a cosmetic company, they want you to sell. They don't necessarily want you to be a great artist. And I wanted to be a great artist. And so I started reading Kevin Aucoin books and doing what a lot of people do. They just absorb what they can. And it kind of really clicked in when I went to work for MAC Cosmetics. During my basic training there, they showed us a book of body-painted individuals. And this was in 2004. So they had really been kind of on the cutting edge because the book had been made previous to that by quite a bit. So they were really on the cutting edge of the body paint movement and kind of the modern version of it. So I looked at this book and I was completely enamored. And it triggered something inside of me that to this day I can't explain why or how, but seeing all these bodies painted from head to toe, all sizes, all shapes, all genders, it was just amazing. And from that day on, I knew I wanted to body paint. And I finally started learning in 2007.
Wow. I'm really curious about your experience growing up. Was makeup something that you always felt kind of like you longed for it but couldn't have it? Or was it just an interest that you came to later?
No, I always was fascinated with color, and makeup was just another form of color by the time I discovered it as a teen. And I went through bouts of, you know, being really obsessed and fascinated and being sneaky with it. And then, you know, going to a church retreat and being like, oh, I'm never going to wear makeup again. And so it was this constant internal struggle between what I was being told I should like and what I should be attracted to and what I was actually attracted to in this life and what I actually wanted to do. So it felt like this constant war inside myself, and it wasn't until I got away from that mentality that I really was able to fully embrace who I am, what I do, and allow myself to just be fascinated with whatever I was fascinated with. No explanations needed. But through all those years, art was like a staple in my life. That was probably the thing that kept me sane. And I really wish I had brought some with me, but I didn't think about it. My art from high school is all these faces. It was always faces, and especially eyes. And they were always really colorful, and the hair was always really punky and colorful. And I think that I found a way to express it that was acceptable in that world that I lived in.
Yeah.
You know, until I could find other ways to express it.
You know, I find the makeup thing so interesting. You know, being male, I didn't have a lot of experience growing up with makeup until I started doing theater. And then as a theater artist and an actor, you know, I can put makeup on myself, and you know, I can follow like the makeup plot that a makeup artist puts together for me, and I sort of know the basics of how to do all that. But I remember, you know, getting married was a big eye opener for me, and seeing like how much time my wife spent on makeup, and not in a bad way, just like I had no idea like how much time a woman just spent on just getting ready to go out, right? Not even formal, just going out the door. And then also, I had this, you know, by my junior year of college, I was fairly proficient with basic makeup, and this girl that I was working with at the student union, she was talking to a couple of friends right next to me about what kind of foundation she should use. And just out of my knowledge, I just reflexively started giving her advice. And you know, talking about how she has really red undertones, and maybe she shouldn't use that base and that kind of stuff. And everybody in the room, there are like 15 people in the room, it just got quiet. And I look back at that and everybody's looking at me, and I'm like, yeah. Apparently I'm not supposed to talk about this. And I just find it so interesting how makeup defines gender roles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember in the 80s when there were it was popular for certain rock bands where men were wearing eye makeup and stuff, and that was like the cutting edge kind of thing. But makeup seems to kind of, I don't know, it's just like this touch point for so many like really political issues, really.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I get, you know, I have quite diverse groups of friends that should never cross streams on Facebook, but sometimes they start to, and I'm like, whoa, get back in your corners, people. But, you know, I'll read something from one of my feminist friends about, you know, just bashing on makeup, and I have to, you know, chime in, of course, and be like, hey, you know, all forms of expression are valid. And then, of course, I get, you know, my pageant girls who wouldn't leave the house without it, and just all these extreme diverse groups. And my thing is that there is room for all of it. There is room for all forms of expression. Makeup and face paint and all of that is really no different than a tattoo or a piercing or a spray tan or cutting your hair or wearing clothing, for that matter, decorating our house. To me, it's all just forms of expression, theater, all of it. So I like to encourage people to make space for someone who does it differently.
What's up, Minnie?
Ren, I'd just like to ask you a question.
Yes.
First of all, you're very pretty.
Oh, thank you, Minnie. That's very kind of you.
I have makeup, see? I
love your blush. It's really pretty.
Anyway, so I wanted to know, when you were still working at MAC Cosmetics?
Yes.
Did you start doing the body painting thing while you were working at MAC Cosmetics?
I did. Actually, MAC had a lot to do with my start because of that book that they published. It was originally called the MAC Deck of Cards, but then it was published into a book. It was an actual deck of cards originally. and then it got published into a book, and the money was being funneled toward the Mac AIDS Fund, which is a really great thing, and it raised a lot of money for help for patients and for education. So originally they sparked that interest. I have to give them credit for that. And then my first body paint products were the MAC Chroma Cakes because, of course, I got the employee discount, so I thought, why not start with those? And now I've moved on to some products I carry here at the studio and some other, just a little bit higher quality.
Rule.
What was that?
Art supply discounts. They really help.
Yeah, a lot. It was fabulous. So I could buy a whole lot of paint and play with it and learn, and that's how I got started.
And can you have a picture there that you can hold up to show everybody an example of your work?
Hopefully the glare won't be a problem. This one was actually painted as a project for a film student who did a little mini documentary on my studio.
Oh,
and
cool.
So this was the final. This is the final image that Keith took for me. Let me see if I can do this. Hopefully the glare. Okay, so you can see this is her hair. This is her backside.
Wow.
And the scene is painted across her back.
Wow.
It's a landscape. So hopefully you can see that okay.
Ren, I'm so curious for somebody who's being the canvas for something like that. How do you have them? I mean, they must have to move around a lot. Do you start them off lying flat on a table? What do you do?
Well, every single painting is a little different, so that's it depends. In the case of that painting, that model Jessica, she was actually, we put a blanket over a table that was a little bit lower, so it was kind of at a nice height for me, and I painted with her just laying face down like she'd be laying on a massage table. Mm-hmm. And so it was pretty comfortable for her, and then you do have to stop, and you do have to check in with your model, make sure they're warm enough, make sure they're getting drinks, food, stop for bathroom breaks. So it's all how you prep your model. You have to let them know, when you get uncomfortable, wave at me, say something, don't just suffer silently. So it's definitely a give and take, and being aware that your model might not speak up and checking in with them occasionally.
Mm. How long did something like that take you?
That one from start to finish, I think, was about 3.5 hours, something like that.
It's pretty fast. Because,
of course, I had a film person right here the whole time and moving around and whatnot. But really, it went pretty quick.
That is so phenomenally cool. I'm curious, what kinds of clients come to you for body painting as opposed to for makeup?
Well, I'm sure it varies a lot regionally. But here in Eastern Tennessee, I'm not in a big city. I don't have big celebrity events to paint for and things like that. That's just not something that happens here for the most part. So I get a lot of maternity bellies. Women who wouldn't think of getting painted normally would, they love to honor that time in their lives. It's very sacred, and it's something they're going to pause and commemorate in a little bit more artistic manner, maybe. So I do get some maternity bellies. The more that people talk to me about this and the more they see of it, the more open they are to the idea, though, because I've had several people come back after seeing the body paint and say, I'm thinking about this. I might want to do this for my 50th birthday. What do you think? They just need some reassurance. So there's all kinds of people that will do it, but it is an act of courage to bare your body like that and to say, I'm a work of art and I'm worthy of this, as my friend Laura says, to say I'm worthy of this, that I am art. That takes a lot of courage. So transitional times in life, people might honor a transition in life or a birthday or something big and important to them with body paint. And for me, I'm hoping to reach more people with healing, with helping them see themselves differently.
Oh yeah, I can imagine it'd be really powerful for that. Mm-hmm. I think
I'm learning that.
Yeah, that I can totally see the transition with the baby belly and all of that, and any kind of healing like mastectomy or something like that. It could be really powerful. Yes, I'm really fascinated with scars and with the stories that our scars tell and the stories that our bodies tell as they age, and
as we go through different things, and the way that the world kind of tells its story on us, the way we're impressionable, and I think body paint can just be a beautiful way to honor all of that.
I think you were mentioning about living not in a big city in Tennessee, and I think what struck me the most from our conversation at Design Your Life Camp was, I remember you talking about how you had decided to really go forward with the body painting side of your business, even though you don't live in, LA or New York or someplace where it would seem really logical to use it as a viable business opportunity. And it sounded like that was a pretty recent decision in your life. Like you had just sort of discovered that there was profit to be had there. Can you talk about that realization and that decision?
Ooh. Yeah, that's a really intense topic for me, because I think the things that really matter to us, the dreams and the desires, the urges inside that are really potent, I think they're scary too. There's an edge of fear you have to walk up to. With the body paint, it was a lot easier just to tell myself that you can't make money doing this in Eastern Tennessee, than to just dive in all the way and say, this is what I'm here to do, this is my thing, and I'm just going to embrace it and go off the deep end, So I had a few stories I was telling myself. That was one of them. And over the last year, or maybe a little longer, I've been realizing that the limits are all up here. For one, I don't need to keep my audience to Eastern Tennessee. Why was I saying that only customers in Eastern Tennessee are going to be the ones that support and encourage this? So the first thing was that I decided to take it to a larger audience. We're launching an online fine print gallery next week through KeithDixonStudios.com. So that was one thing that changed. I know, I'm so excited. We're going to be doing limited edition prints to launch that. So yeah, be watching for some cool stuff there. The other part is that I'm not giving Eastern Tennessee much credit. I'm not having a whole lot of faith in these people and their desire for art and their desire for something different. And I'm underestimating the people of my region. They love the body paint. The body art shows that we've done here have been highly attended. People are hungry for things like that here, and I think businesses and small business, we underestimate our region sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so I quit, once I quit doing that to myself, and I quit pushing the body paint back as just like my thing I do on the side, all of a sudden the floodgates are opening. There's 3 interviews this month, so thank you. It opens up a lot of people's hearts and minds to the idea of this. And people in my region are asking me more and more. So it was really up to me to build that bridge and to educate people and to embody the thing that they need to hear about, and I was not doing that very well. So trusting that thing in you, that's huge.
Yeah, Ren, Melissa and I end up talking about this all the time. We're fortunate enough to be in a position where we talk to artists from all over the world, from all walks of life, and I see that same process that you just described happen over and over again in so many lives, and it's really awesome to me to see what happens when people put their whatever their thing is, like that beating heart that you have, you put that out there in the world, and people want to help and support that. And people, if it comes from a place of power and authenticity, people recognize it and they're drawn to it. And I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and I'm drawn to that as an artist. I purchased some of Melissa's art at camp, and when you see somebody else doing their thing and you connect with their art and you connect with their spirit, you want to bring that into your life. And so, trusting that thing and other people, and that, everything's going to conspire to help you when you are being fully in alignment with the thing that you're here to do. And I'm just really glad I found that thing, because I spent a lot of years wondering what that thing was.
Yeah, a lot of us spend a lot of time wondering what that thing is.
Yeah,
right?
And I have a lot of things that I like to do, so to find that the one that kind of stood out, and that, artists like to try everything, but it clicked with me in such a deep and resonating way that it felt like that's it's what I'm supposed to do with my time here on this planet, and that's what I need to do. I don't know why, but there it is.
Well, you're so right. Just being around somebody who has passion and is going for it and really putting it out there in a real way, in an authentic way, it's so compelling and it's so attractive. And just talking to you, I remember you were saying that the town where you live is the storytelling capital of the U.S., right? And I know Corey and I are both really into storytelling in our own various fashions, awesome. Right? And I suddenly started getting images of, ooh, I want to incorporate body painting with storytelling and do do some kind of storytelling performance where my entire body is painted, and started getting all kind of ideas that I never would have had.
I'm picturing a live Creative Insurgents episode.
Yeah!
In Eastern
Tennessee.
Absolutely.
Body painted. Yes. The whole cast body painted.
I see so many possibilities because the body paint can illustrate stories in a way that nothing else can. Mm-hmm. Poor Minnie is trying to...
Oh, I just wanted to say, that sounds really nice. I'd like to see Eastern Tennessee.
Please come visit, Minnie.
It sounds beautiful.
I think that would be wonderful. It's a beautiful little town. I wish I could just take y'all outside, but, horse-drawn carriages and brick sidewalks, and it's very quaint. The Storytelling Center is right across the street from us, from our studio here. And my mom was a storyteller in my little hometown. So we had a storytelling guild that sometimes met at our house. She was in library work, and storytelling was just kind of part of our lives. And so to connect, and my mom was the one that kind of brought me to this town and helped me discover it. And it was through the Storytelling Festival. So storytelling has a lot to do with art. Because I feel like art that's what it's doing. It's telling our stories, the story of humanity, ultimately.
What is the most unusual or memorable job you've ever done?
I painted a horse once.
Really?
I did, and I wish I would have spent a little more time. It was kind of an experiment to see, how it would go, and the horse was very cooperative. He was fabulous. I had ridden him before, so hopefully we had a little trust before that. But he was very patient with me, and it was a very simple design, just a colorful tree on the side of his belly, and it was in conjunction with his owner's maternity painting on her belly. So we did both together, and the little girl that was born is a year old now. She was just in the studio recently, so that's another piece of this, that I get to be a part of people's lives over and over again for these different times and reconnect with them as their story is unfolding. But the horse, it was kind of in the spring before he had shed, so there was a lot of fur, and it was very interesting. The fur absorbs a lot of paint, as it turns out. So, but he sparked an interest in, what animals would be willing to be body painted, and where it wouldn't be a form of torture for them. And it led me to starting to have dreams about painting an elephant someday. So.
Wow,
I was just
that
going
would
to say
be
that.
cool.
That they do that in India.
I know. I need to go to
beautifully.
India. Yes, I want to paint an elephant so bad. So if y'all hear of anything going on in India, I'm in.
That is so cool.
You heard it here, folks. When this goes live, guaranteed somebody's going to be like, I'm going to have her paint my elephant.
I'm hoping it'll be a willing elephant.
That's our job here at Creative Insurgents. We're facilitating connections between artists and elephants.
Well, that would make quite a
zoo
story.
Is going to be like, come paint our elephant. It'll be awesome.
I'm curious if you can share a little bit about creating for love and creating for money, like creating to feed your soul and creating to feed your family.
Yeah, that's an ongoing discussion, let me tell you. Because we both get into that place where we're chasing the money sometimes, because, things ebb and flow when we're both self-employed full-time. All we do is this. This is our whole life as far as the income. So when things slow down, and we have 5 kids at home right now, so there's a huge amount of pressure to, yeah. I mean, everybody's living at home right now. The older ones are working and whatnot, but it's still, it's a large household to maintain, and we love it. And there's constantly humor and mess and projects at our house having a crew like that. So it's a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of pressure on two people to provide for this whole household. And sometimes it does get a little bit hard, and you feel like, oh my gosh, how are we going to make ends meet this month? But part of that is stuff we're learning and digging deeper and, learning how to trust. We're really good at what we do. We love what we do. Our customers love us. It's going to be okay. And we can always dig in and find new, exciting ideas to throw out there. So balance, I don't know if there's a balance, because I've decided that balance is overrated.
Balance is a myth.
But finding your groove and finding that rhythm and flow, and we come back to it. We've recently begun doing art every single night. And our thing is, it doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes. It's that whole thing we talked about at camp. I think Maya and Amy talked about the quality versus quantity issue. So we're just diving into that whole, quantity. Keep it coming, and you're going to get to the quality by churning out a lot of work. And so We're sitting down to journal and do art every night, so that we are feeding our own stuff and not always just doing commissioned work or client work. It's important. It's really important.
Absolutely. I am so all about that.
Yeah. But we get off balance, and we get in that rut where we're just chasing the money, and then we just look at each other and we're like, oh my God, we have got to go on a photo shoot just for fun. Or we've got to just do a body painting. Like the last 2 days, I did a body painting just because I wanted to. And so we come back to center eventually. But yeah, it's hard sometimes.
This has been an awesome discussion. We're running into hitting up against our max length here. I feel like we could talk for a lot longer, but we got to.
It was awesome talking to you all.
Thank you so much, Ren.
Thank you so much. It was awesome.
And Ren, you have such a beautiful life that you've designed for yourself. I'm so impressed.
Thank you, Minnie. That means a lot. That is very kind. Come visit us in Jonesboro.
We're going to figure out a way to make it happen.
Definitely.
Thanks, Ren.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.
So, wow, that was really great. Thanks for bringing her on, Melissa. So at the top of the show, we talked about you decided to start a Facebook auction. So you learned a couple of things from that. So for today's quick tip, I thought we'd have you talk about that.
Yes, putting my art up on auction on Facebook was a huge leap for me. It was really scary. And it was an intentional thing that I did. I teach this class, my academy program, and the session that I taught most recently was all about getting out of that waiting mode, waiting until we're ready, waiting until we have that extra degree or certification, then I'll be ready, or waiting until the project is 100% perfect and then I'll put it out into the world. Because of course the only way to get your work out there, to get your good thinking out there, to get yourself out there is to do it, right? So I'm borrowing this idea of a leap, a very specific kind of leap from one of my teachers, Tara Moore. And she has a certain number of criteria that need to be part of the leap in order for it to qualify as this kind of a leap. So a goal that's a leap has these criteria. One, it's intimately connected to your vision of your biggest, boldest, most creative life. And posting my art on my Facebook page is definitely tied to my vision of creating and selling the work of my heart, so that definitely qualified. And second, it's something that can be accomplished quickly in like 2 weeks or less, which means it has to be relatively simple. It can't be this big, complicated thing. And putting up a piece on Facebook is something I could do right away. It's really simple, really quick. So it counted there. And then a leap has to involve feedback from other people, and not just general other people, but other people who are going to help you learn, specifically those people that you want to impact, the people that you want to influence with your work. And since my auction was going out to people who I was, hoping would be interested in buying, that qualified too, and it gave me a ton of feedback. I found out whether the piece would sell, which it did. I got lots of comments. I got way more shares than I normally do, and way more people seeing, like 10 to 20 times the typical number of people who saw my post, so that was a ton of feedback. And then the last thing that a leap needs in order to qualify as a leap is that it stretches you and even scares you a little bit. And this really, really scared me. And when I pushed the button to post, I felt my face go hot, right? So that qualified. It was definitely a leap. So the quick tip today is to look at what leap you might take in the next 2 weeks. Think about it. See what you can come up with.
Thanks so much, Melissa.
You are welcome, Corey.
Well, that's our show today, everybody. Thanks for watching the Creative Insurgents podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Creative Insurgents. Creative Insurgents. Subscribe at creativeinsurgents.com.